Hello everyone and welcome to another First Impressions video, this time with more Einstein innovations. I want to go over some new Flow Builder updates with you today. This is the official Salesforce release notes, and I'm going to be putting a link to this in the description of this video below. But I want to cover something that's being talked about a lot in the last 6 to 8 months, and that is the ability to use AI and prompts to build flows for you in Salesforce. Now, before we get started, I just want to cover a few things in case you don't know anything about this. Maybe you're new to the ecosystem, or maybe you're just being too busy to keep up with everything. So Salesforce, just like many other companies these days, they have kind of changed their direction towards AI innovations. Now, I say kind of, not because they've recently realized that AI is a thing and they've completely replanned the way that they do business. No. Salesforce has been in the AI game for a long time. In fact, way before ChatGPT was even a thing to us, Salesforce was already working with AI innovations. It's just that the capabilities were very limited back then. But we still had things like lead score or opportunity score, for example. AI was still in Salesforce, making predictions and using your data in some way, of course, if you use those features. But as you know, after ChatGPT kind of blew up and everything became AI, then I guess Salesforce had everything it needed to just kind of explode and go towards that direction. Now, it being a CRM, I think it's been very easy for them to be able to innovate new things. And that's mainly because of the nature of a CRM. I mean, think about it. CRMs are basically a data playground. They store data, all of your customers' data, your company's data, and so it's very easy for AI to do its thing. It runs on data. I think Salesforce has been really good at innovating AI solutions. I almost want to speculate to say that they probably had a lot of AI solutions in the backlog and ideas kind of drafted out, but they just didn't release it because they couldn't based on limitations of the technology itself. But as you know, in the recent months and years, then this kind of changed a lot. So one of the things that have really been talked about is the ability to create Salesforce flows, which is the new and inspiring automation form in Salesforce. Process Builder is no longer a thing. That's been retired. Support is ending on that, I believe, in 2025, if I'm not mistaken, but you can't really create process builders anymore. So flows have really become the new way for us, admins, consultants, and business users as well. I'm not forgetting you guys. I know that there are a lot of companies out there who have implemented Salesforce and perhaps haven't gotten around to actually hiring a Salesforce admin. And so those guys actually go in and start building things. I don't agree with that, by the way. If you are that kind of company, you definitely should look for a certified admin to take over and start applying some best practices. If you want to learn more about this, then by all means, reach out to me. I'm happy to assist. But this new release with the Einstein Build a Draft flow, which is so new, it's actually still in beta, you're basically going to be able to write a prompt, and Salesforce Einstein is going to create a draft version of that flow for you. But there are some limitations, and that's why I wanted to do this video, because I think a lot of people were thinking, oh, well, I don't need to learn flows because I'm just going to write a prompt and then AI is going to do everything for me. Now, we have been saying, I for one have been saying that that is definitely not going to be the case. You still need to know how to create flows and how to work with flows, and most importantly, how to debug flows, which is why I started a YouTube playlist called Flow Along, which is dedicated to complete beginners, and I teach you how to go from zero to Flow Builder. Now, if you haven't watched that, you can find that on my channel, but I don't want to deviate too much from the topic at hand. And so I want to go through this document because I think Salesforce has done a great job of being very transparent with the limitations of what this can do for now. Anyway, this might change in the future. but I wanted to cover it anyway. The name of this feature is a little bit up in the air at the moment, it seems. The title of this article is Let Einstein Build a Draft Flow for You. Obviously, this is still in beta. Now, we'll cover that shortly in terms of how you can get hands-on with this. I haven't been able to get hands-on with this just yet, which is why, unfortunately, I don't have a demo for you in this video. But as soon as I do, I'll put a video together for you. So it starts off by saying, reach your automation goals with Einstein by describing what you want to automate and letting Einstein Gen AI handle the heavy lifting. From the description you provide, Einstein creates a draft screen, record triggered, schedule trigger, or auto launch flow to get you started. Now, already that's a good hint, isn't it? Because they are straight up saying that this feature is intended to get you started. It creates a draft version of your flow just to get you going. So if you've ever heard of perhaps artists say that the most difficult bit is when they have a blank canvas, this is what this feature is trying to fix. They're basically saying, you know, sometimes you have to build a flow and you go to the flow builder and it's just an empty canvas and you don't know where to start. Well, this will get you going, but it's not really supposed to build the whole thing for you. We'll only know for sure when we get hands-on with it, but this document seems to be suggesting just that. So Einstein can build a flow using any element and most resources, and can even use your org's custom objects. Most Einstein draft flows can have up to 6 elements. That's interesting. So only 6 elements. I think this is really interesting. If you are not very experienced in flows, or if you just haven't had the chance to actually build a complex flow just yet, let me be the first to tell you that 6 elements is not a lot. Now, by all means, flows can do a lot within 6 elements, no doubt. But I have been working on a very simple flow, which in theory, the use case is very straightforward. It basically allows users to create a new case. Now, this is a screen flow. We have a type and subtype dependent pick list, and dependent on the combination of the type and subtype value, they want to see different fields when they're raising a new case. Now, you might think, oh, that's pretty straightforward. You know, we could probably do that in 6 elements. You just have a screen element, you have loads of components with visibility filters on there, and then you create your case. But I wanted to show you just how much 6 elements can actually get you. So I'm going to show you a draft version of this flow that I'm talking about, just so you can have an idea. So here is the draft of this flow that I've been speaking about. And if I just zoom out, this is how many elements it actually has at the moment. Now, this is a draft. This is not a finished product. But to give you a quick overview, I'm really not going to go into details on this because that's not the purpose of this video. But we have a decision here at the top that essentially checks which object you're launching the flow from. So whether it's the person account, the contact, the voice call, or the messaging session objects. And based on this, it will do different things. Now, as you can see, there is a lot of elements here. So 6 elements would get me nowhere near actually completing a flow like this. So that's why I wanted to show you that. I just wanted to kind of give you an idea of what 6 elements can really do when you're using this Einstein solution. So it really is just to get you started, and then you have to take it from there. So that's how important knowing flows actually is. Don't rely fully on AI. You still need to have that fundamental understanding of how it works. So you can help Einstein Gen AI gain increased capabilities by providing feedback on your flows. So it's a conversation, kind of like ChatGPT. You can go back and forth, and AI is going to work with you on that. So this change applies to Lightning Experience. It's all Einstein 1 editions, Enterprise, Performance, and Unlimited editions with Einstein for Sales, Service, Platform add-on. So important note here, this is in beta service, so don't rely fully on the solution just yet. It might still be tweaked, changed, and all of that stuff. Einstein can build draft flows starting July 16th. Now that's just a few days ago. So if you have these editions, you can go in and you can already start trying out this feature. I would be very jealous indeed, but you can do that. To enable this, however, you need to go to Setup and you need to search for Einstein settings. When you find Einstein settings, you then need to enable Einstein Gen AI. So that's the first thing you need to do. Once you've done that, we've done a very similar thing when I did a video on Einstein prompt templates. That's in my channel if you want to check it out. We had to activate this as well. So if you can activate this, just keep in mind that once you activate it, it might take a little while for you to actually see this feature come through. So after you activate it, make sure you refresh, perhaps log out and then log back in. And if none of that works, you might have to wait a little bit until you actually see the features you're trying to look for. So just keep that in mind. In case you activate and you think, oh, I still can't see this feature when I try to build a flow, that's probably why. But anyway, once you activate it and it's working in your system, then what you can do is you can head up to flow in your setup. And then when you create a new flow, you're going to have this new section here that says, let Einstein help you build. And if you click there, that's going to open the actual prompt. So that's where you can describe your automation. So here you can write instructions from scratch or get started with simple instructions. So this is the screen that you'd be looking at. There is some guidance here on the top. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit. So there's some guidance here on the top. It says, write instructions to help Einstein draft your flow. Effective instructions include when the flow starts and if it has screens, the name of objects and fields to use for certain criteria and actions. So I guess it goes without saying, it's very important to describe the flow that you're trying to build in a very clear manner, because that's just kind of what Einstein needs to know what to do. So just think about every time you use ChatGPT and you thought, wow, that wasn't helpful at all. And then you go back and you write it in a different way and you think, oh, actually, I think now we're getting somewhere. That's just down to your prompts. So writing good prompts is really the key for everything AI. So make sure you write a nice, clear, and useful prompt. It also says here that it's useful to describe the actions you want the flow to take and the criteria to use to identify specific records. So for example, if you want to get all accounts, make sure you say what kind of accounts. Is it all the accounts in the system? Is it only active accounts in the system? Is it only existing customer accounts in the system? Make sure you describe that really clearly. It also has some sample of instructions here. So it says here, create a flow that starts when an opportunity is created and is over $10,000. The flow should send an email to the opportunity owner telling them that they have a new large opportunity. So that's a nice and simple flow, and it can definitely be done within 6 elements. I think this draft would be quite interesting, and maybe the picture below will actually take us through that. So then we move on to say, after your draft flow opens in Flow Builder, it's important to check the flow for accuracy and safety. Now that's just exactly what we were just talking about. You can't just rely on AI purely. You do have to know flows. You have to go in there, you have to review it, you have to check, make sure that it's doing what it's supposed to be doing, make sure it's aligned with best practices. And I really like the fact that Salesforce is being very transparent with this. Also be sure to debug and test the flow before activating. So we know that this just built a draft version of your flow. It's not going to debug it for you. You need to do that yourself. To get increasingly better flows from Einstein, share your feedback in the Einstein window by hovering over the Einstein message and selecting thumbs up or thumbs down. So that's this message here on the right-hand side. That's just a little pop-up message. You see this thumbs up and thumbs down in a lot of AI solutions. If you do things like service work summaries or messaging sessions, automated replies and things like that, you can see a lot of these thumbs up and thumbs down. And that really does help the AI model within your system. So make sure you use that. That's really actually helpful. If the flow doesn't meet your needs, start over in a new window. So it's more of, okay, we'll just start again. So there is a button here that says start over. and you can just click there, and then you can just write another prompt, and then it will generate a new version of the flow. And that way you don't even have to worry about the old one because it's not saved. It's just a draft. So if you look at the screenshot here, you can see on the top right hand side that the save button is actually clickable, which means that this is just a draft unsaved version of the flow. So if you start a new one, you lose this one and you're just starting over. So all in all, I'm really looking forward to trying out this new feature. We've already tried writing prompts for prompt templates using AI, and that was really helpful. We used the new fields, new AI fields, to kind of summarize some records for us. But I'm really keen to get hands-on with drafting flows using AI. I think mainly because I've been spending a lot of time in the flow builder in the last 8 to 9 months. And I think that this could be really helpful. Kind of gives you a starting point and kind of takes you away from that obstacle of staring at a blank canvas. Now, to be honest with you, a lot of the times when I build flows, and I go through a lot of this in my Flow Along series, we do actually start with a diagram in something like Lucidchart, so we can understand what we're trying to build before we even build it. But that's not to say that it happens every time I need to build a flow. Sometimes I just need to build something quickly, and you kind of just go and build a new flow, and you start with a blank canvas and you just start putting things together. And often that does lead to much more complex flows, but that's kind of the starting point. You have to start somewhere, right? Well, now with Einstein, you can start with something that's already kind of headed in the right direction. I'm really keen to test this out. If you do manage to test this out, if you have all of the requirements and have this available in your org, then please let me know. I'm really curious to see how it works. Drop a comment down below. And I promise, as soon as I am able to get hands-on with this, I will make a video. So I hope you found this helpful, and until next time.